At one point in the not so far back future, Raquel Pennington was just considered a wayward former title challenger, the dust in the wind, the whatever you want to throw out there. The writing was kind of on the wall for Raquel Pennington. And whether you went with the UFC's record where they had her as 10-9 because they consider one of those 3-round fights that's an exhibition on The Ultimate Fighter as a real fight, which is kind of dumb, but they do it. We're not doing it this weekend. She was 10-8 at one point. And now she's on a 3-fight win streak, and it's a tidy little win streak at that, with wins over some names that you might recognize in the rankings: Marion Renault, Penny Kanzat, and then finishing Macy Chasson her last time out. Raquel Pennington, giant career resurgence, 13-8, and she's only 33 years old in this division. Now, that last fight against Chasson, somewhat short notice. It was up at 145. Aspen Ladd was supposed to take on Macy Chasson at one point, but that fight never happened because Aspen Ladd weighed in at 137. So for Ladd, she's had some issues. She's come out on the other side. She fights at 145 against Norma Dumont and had historically low output until the 4th round. But how historically low was it, Craig? Well, I have the numbers. She went 3 of 17 for strikes in the first round.
Is she Damian Maia fighting Tyron Woodley?
That was a 17% clip. In the second round, she went 4 of 21. That's a 19% clip. In the third round, she went 9 of 34. That's a 26% clip. In the fourth round, she went 12 of 29. And then in the 5th round, she went 5 of 9. Aspen Ladd had the worst performance of her career in her last time out. And listen, yeah, the fight against Germaine Durand was bad. And yeah, that fight was close to home. But that fight against Norma Dumont in a 5-round main event, it was a head-scratcher of a fight even before the two fighters walked into the octagon. It's still a weird fight now. And for Aspen Ladd, so many question marks coming out of that one.
I agree with everything you said, but I still think getting knocked out in 20 seconds by Germaine Durand is a little bit worse. Now, for Ladd, it is unfortunate because there's a few fighters that fall into this cycle where it's you get a big opportunity and you just come up short every time. And for Ladd, she has had 2 main event slots in the UFC, and that's a lot for a fighter, for any fighter. I know people get on like Anthony Smith for being in a lot of fight night main events, but that's because he's kind of earned it at this stage of his career. For Aspen Ladd to only be 9-2 in her career and already have 2 main event slots, it just kind of tells you where the UFC has her in their overall hierarchy of 135. For Raquel Pennington, I think you'll appreciate this one, Craig. You know who her NBA comp is? Someone who had a lot of hype, they sort of faltered a little bit, and now with a reduced role, they're shining. JaVale McGee!
Any 6-man.
Raquel Pennington, though, to me is like JaVale McGee. Every time you write them off, they're going to kind of show you something you never really thought that they had in them. But you do have to have realistic expectations of where Pennington is at this stage of her career. She's not someone who is going to go on a run and get back to a title shot. At least I don't believe that she will. But she's a phenomenal gatekeeper to that top 7 to 6 range. She's not somebody who you beat and you immediately get a title shot off of. But when you do beat Raquel Pennington, it proves to everybody that, hey, you are more than just a striker. You're more than just a wrestler. Because to beat Pennington, you do have to be well-rounded. She's at least a little good everywhere. And that's the great thing about Pennington. No matter who she's matched up against, there's always something that you can point to and think, hey, Pennington has at least this type of an advantage over her opponent. And even for this one, like Aspen Ladd, you bring it up. Is she a good striker? Not at all. She's a phenomenal grappler, though. But even against someone like Raquel Pennington, who herself is a good grappler, I don't think Aspen Ladd is going to go out there and completely wash her if this gets to the mat. I think this could be a very competitive fight no matter what stage it ends up in.
So Matt, you said something that plays into what I have to say for this one, and the fact that Raquel Pennington, great, maybe a gatekeeper for the top 5, top 7. She's ranked 7 in this one. This fight was announced on March 26th because Raquel Pennington is a short notice replacement for your 3rd ranked Irene Aldana. Aspen Ladd's ranked 4th. Like, it is a weird fight. It is at the top of the division. So Ladd now going down, but she's also an underdog now. And I don't normally talk about the odds right now in a video. There's kind of a formula that we follow, if you've ever noticed that. But Ladd opened as a plus 125. She's plus 163 on best fight odds. For Raquel Pennington, open to minus 145. She's a minus 200. So coming in on short notice, ranked lower, Raquel Pennington is the favorite. This is the part that I don't understand. Aspen Ladd, again, you talk about buying a fighter high and selling low. Aspen Ladd in Invicta with the one fight against Sijara Eubanks and then through the UFC. Minus 270 against Eubanks the first time. Minus 250 against Lena Landsberg. Minus 185 against Tanya Evinger. Minus 260 against Sijara Eubanks the second time. Minus 135 against Germaine Durand. She loses. Minus 175 against Yana Kunitskaya. Minus 135 against Norma Dumont. Aspen Ladd's never been an underdog. Ever. Like, she's never been an underdog. She's now an underdog against a fighter coming in on short notice, ranked lower than her, on a win streak, and it's tiny and impressive as Raquel Pennington might be on that win streak. It's just one of those ones where I had the logic of the Kay Hansen fight where she's been a giant favorite in her last 3 fights, 1 and 2 in those fights. She has some tools that I think will play out against Piera Rodriguez. But in this fight, Aspen Ladd's tools and Raquel Pennington's tools, they're kind of the same. They're different in different ways, and I know you're going to get to that. But when it comes to grappling, Raquel Pennington, she's one of those fighters. We're talking head and chest. Like, she's always pushing it up against the cage, really implementing a physical game plan. It's just odd to see Ladd as such a big favorite in all of these fights. Favorite against Dumont, loses and doesn't look good. And now we're just whoop. Like, big enough underdog.
I think it's way too much of an overcorrection, if we're being honest, because Aspen Ladd's a fighter who used to fight at flyweight, and I understand she's had some weight issues throughout her career, but still, you're dealing with someone who fought at flyweight, being expected to perform at the same level at featherweight. It's just probably not going to happen, and Norma Dumont, at least up until that point, hadn't showed us that much in the UFC, if we're all being honest, but she looked really good in that fight against Aspen Ladd, to her credit. So I really do think it's an overcorrection, because if you go back just one fight before that, what Aspen Ladd did to Yana Kunitskaya should be illegal in the UFC cage. That was one of the most one-sided finishes the second that fight hit the mat, because Ladd has a game very similar to someone like Gregor Gillespie, to where when it's on the feet, yeah, you worry about them. They're a little bit basic, even though I don't think Aspen Ladd's a garbage striker by any means. I really do think it's a confidence thing with her. Like, Paul Craig talked about this with an interview with Ariel Helwani right after he fought Nikita Krylov. He was like, listen, I know in a lot of my fights I get beat up and then I get this Hail Mary, but like, if you just see me in the gym, if you see me strike, I'm genuinely a good striker. I'm just so like anxious about that part of my game when I'm at the UFC level that you guys never really get to see that. I think with Ladd, if she was just a little bit more comfortable with her own boxing, she would have some success on the inside, because that's where her game is centered around anyway. So this is something we talk about a lot when we talk about championship level fighters, but the synergy that their games have, and how Volkanovski, someone we'll be talking about later, he can wrestle on the inside, throw body shots, everything he does works together. Aspen Ladd has a lot of very good singular skills. It's just a matter of, can she put it all together? Whereas Pennington, I don't think she does any one thing to the level that Aspen Ladd can grapple, but since she is so well-rounded and just sort of, and I don't mean this negatively at all, she has kind of a watered-down skill set to where it covers a lot more areas than Aspen Ladd does. I think Pennington does have a really good chance to win this fight, even though I know I've been kind of setting that up as a pro-Aspen Ladd prediction, but this is as close of a fight as you can get in this division, and it's interesting because in some divisions, there's a big separation between the top 3 and everybody else. Like, again, last NBA reference for at least this video. Like for the MVP right now, there's top 3, Giannis, Joel, and Jokic, and then there's everybody else. In some fighting divisions, we have that too. Women's bantamweight right now, 1 or 2 good wins can get you up fighting Jessica Penne. You might even be able to fight like Amanda Nunes if they don't want to immediately do that rematch. So I know I said Raquel Pennington isn't going to get to a title shot, but the more I'm thinking about it...
Jessica Penne.
Sorry, the more I'm talking about it...
Juliana Pena.
Thank you. Could Raquel Pennington be fighting for a title if she beats Aspen Ladd? Looks impressive. Like, is that what this fight is?
I mean, she beat Miesha Tate, waited a few years, and then we got a title shot.
You're right.
It is a weird one. We talked about the odds. Ladd the underdog, Pennington the favorite. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprise to us there to you. Honestly, they've been all over the board, and we don't put much stock in it, but it is a lot of fun to talk about them, so I'm not even going to guess on this one.
Okay.
66% Pennington out of 1,561 total votes, 88% by decision for the 34% that have Ladd, 81% by decision for Ladd. Her main event was 5 months ago against Norma Dumont. It was an awful fight. For Pennington coming in on short notice, it was about, what, 3 months ago when she took on Macy Chasson and brutalized her and was able to get that submission. Like, she got taken down in that fight and was able to get a submission win.
Macy's good.
A lot of fun. Macy's great on the feet. With the grappling, yeah.
Well, but beating her means you're a good fighter.
Matt, when it comes down to this pick, though, again, like, when you have somebody that's a favorite all the way, and now you're that big of an underdog, is that just a great opportunity on Aspen Ladd here?
Not really. I don't really look at the odds that much going into... Like, that's just how people react to her performances after the fact. That's all the odds.
But even, like, she was a minus 135 against Duran, and he gets knocked out quick, and then when she fights Kunitskaya, she's minus 175.
But Kunitskaya wasn't on a big run at that point
That's
either.
True.
So, it just... For Ladd, if you've watched her fights, you kind of know what you're going to get. If she can get on top of her opponent, she's incredibly dominant. Like, she truly is. But if she can't do that... there's not a lot of other aspects to her game where you can look at and think, wow, she can consistently win rounds via her boxing, via her clinch control. Just different areas. I really look at her as a one-trick pony, but that one trick is pretty effing good if she is able to get it down to the map. For those reasons, I'm going to pick Aspen Ladd. I do think if she is able to get that one takedown, especially early on in the fight, it's going to knock Pennington's cardio down to whatever level Aspen Ladd's is on, and it is going to get rid of some of the tools of Raquel Pennington. Yes, she's a good offensive grappler. She's not a great defensive grappler. Amanda Nunes took her down like 15 times in their fight, and Amanda's not a great wrestler. Like, that is probably the weakest part of her game. The other part about Pennington, too, that I don't love, she's had a lot of leg injuries in the past, and I do think it has hurt her ability to eat leg kicks. I know that's not something we talk about a lot, but going into the Amanda Nunes fight, she broke her leg. That's why she took so much time off. But ever since, she just doesn't react all that well when she does get hit to that leg. Just something to watch out for. Again, just because I say it doesn't mean it's true and it's going to be a big problem, but it's always something I've looked out for ever since that injury has occurred. So I'm going to pick Aspen Ladd, but like you said, on short notice, a fighter that a lot of people have kind of written off of this division, it's nice to see Raquel Pennington get her footing back and kind of become the fighter that she once was.
This is a fight for question mark kicks if there ever were one on Saturday, because Ladd, again, it's not just been one instance of the weight issues, and for Raquel Pennington, she had that anomaly at 145 her last time out. It was on short notice. This one, it's billed as bantamweight. We'll see how it plays out. For Pennington, kind of walks people down like Sean Strickland. Like, that's kind of the way that she just kind of marches forward, gets into the clinch if she takes it down, or brutalizes you up against the fence. That's how she does it. Great opportunity for Pennington. I also have Ladd. Again, I like the underdog spot on her, and the fact that takes it down. It's very formulaic. We're going to get into position. We're really going to hammer down some blows. I like Aspen Ladd in this opportunity. Younger fighter, fresher fighter, and it was a fight that she was going to be taking against Irene Aldana, who definitely has very good boxing. So an interesting switch of opponent here, but both of us going with California's Aspen Ladd in this opportunity. You talk about it for the cardio. Raquel Pennington, she's been at altitude for a very long time. She does usually have that in her back pocket. So great opportunity for both of these fighters. We're deviating from the Tapology votes and from the odds, and we're going with Ladd. Who do you have in this fight and the rest of the fights on this big-time card? 2 title fights up at the top you're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.